Angel Heart Radio programs should not be used to replace your legal or medical advice. Welcome everyone to Angel Heart Radio. You are our focus. We want you to know that you matter in the world and that you're important to the world. We're here to remind you of just how valuable and needed you are right now. Help us to help others. If you like what you hear, tell your friends, post, tweet, pin, let everyone know how amazing Angel Heart Radio is. So again, welcome to Angel Heart Radio. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is sponsored by AngelLight777.com.
Hello everyone, I'm Annette McCoy and it's my joy to be with you today. Wherever you are, thank you so much for joining myself and my guest this morning, Marney Perna. Now Marney is with me at this time every month and we talk about kinesiology. The thing is, we haven't exactly explained kinesiology for a long, long time. We've covered lots of emotions that might come up and how to deal with those. Today, we thought we'd go right back to the basics. And Marney has been using kinesiology for several years to help herself, her family, and most importantly, her clients. So, wherever you are in the world, thank you, and I hope that the next hour will be very enlightening for you, as I know it's going to be for me. Marney, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you, Annette. It's always a pleasure. Like you, I delight in this show. It's I think we're up to about 7 years that we've been doing this. When I look back,
yes,
because it's been a long time, which is lovely. And today, believe it or not, is the anniversary or the anniversary of the opening of my clinic. So I opened my clinic 12 years ago on the date today. So it's quite a pivotal date for me because a couple of major things have happened in my life on this particular day. So
it's
really
interesting, cool. Isn't it, how dates can be, as you say, pivotal. Like the 13th. For me, is not only my birth date, it's my marriage date, not the same day, but however the same number. And I had twins on the 13th as well. So, yeah, very interesting. Whereas you're saying that it's actually today that is the actual date of today.
The 4th of April, which it is in Australia. So I know it's only the 3rd in overseas. But we won't go into that because it does my head in sometimes, trying to work out the fact it's yesterday over there and today here. I go,
yes,
really?
I know. The land of tomorrow is what I call it if I'm talking to my friends in the US.
Oh, what a lovely way of putting it. Yes, absolutely. And it's lovely to know that we can help people all over the world, which the Angel Heart Radio Show enables us to do. So it doesn't matter where in the universe that you're sitting, you can tune in to what we're talking about today. And that's very cool because kinesiology is all about tuning into the body and being aware and mindful. So,
what I love about Angel Heart Radio through Blog Talk Radio is that this show is being podcast. So people might tune in today and then go, oh, this would be so good for one of my friends or, one member in my family. How wonderful to be able to direct people to angelheartradio.com. And there they're going to find, and I always get confused, Marney, whether it's .com. I think now it is .com. If that doesn't go through, listeners, you put the .au at the end, and that certainly will. So here we are, as you said, kinesiology. It's very dear to your heart, and I know that you've expanded your talents a lot, having started kinesiology. You said you opened your clinic 12 years ago.
12 years. It's my 12th anniversary today.
Wow.
So,
well,
which is lovely.
Many happy returns of your
roller coaster
dozen.
of a journey as well. So,
well, that's life, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And like it happens not accidentally. You make a decision to do something, but then all these synchronistic events happen around you and between you and help cement what you're doing. So, when people are a bit unsure about life, get a pivotal word or get something that creates a bit of a realization. So like an intuitive word. So work with your angels and guides and find something that means something to you, but means something within what you're wanting to do. And what you'll find is that word will turn up at the right time, the right place and the right time. And you go, oh, this is my special word. So it works as an anchor or a vibrational connection to help you make informed decisions. Doesn't mean they're always going to end up perfectly, but it's another piece of information or knowledge for you to use to trust that gut feeling and that intuitive belief that we all have that we don't always listen to.
Right. Could you give me an example of a word that maybe has meant something to you?
Okay, well, every year on the 1st of January, I create my vision board. And I also create a word, a vibrational energy connection word for the year ahead. So this year for me, the word is magic or magical. Now, like everyone else in life, there's always shiny, bright objects all around the place. Okay, so one way of qualifying whether a new shiny, bright object is something that's viable is that word might appear in it. So I'm looking at we're always expanding and creating something new. So I'm looking at going down the online aspect of my business, so being able to do, like I've written a basic kinesiology course that people can purchase on my website, and I'm looking at how to manufacture or market that particular product, or how I can turn more of what I do into online, like we do with Angel Heart Radio. And there was a marketing program came up, and one of the key words the presenters are using was how to create magic out of the wisdom of your heart. Now, I talk about the wisdom of your heart. To me, that's an ism of yourself. So you might be a kinesiologist, but your kinesiology will be different to the next kinesiologist because the wisdom of your heart will be put into it. So for me, to hear the word turn your wisdom of your heart into magic was almost saying, how could you not consider this seriously? Because both of them are key words that when I hear them, they connect to my heart. Does that make sense to you?
Well, it does, yes. And it means also that when you see that word, I know I'm tuned into numbers at the moment. Yep. And so I can see certain numbers and go, oh, wow, on the right track. Or thank you for this sign. They're signposts, aren't they?
They're guides and signposts. And as I said, it doesn't always mean that it's perfect, but what it does say to you is, hey, just step back for a minute and listen to your intuition, listen to your gut feeling, and give it some more credibility. So for me, it doesn't say jump in with both feet, but it says, wow, this is one of my guideposts. I mean, I use this as a guidepost. So I need to heed what I've already put in place. So for me, I'm giving it some serious consideration because it's just opening up a whole new field for me.
Right.
So, and you can do that with anything. You sometimes do it with colour. So a certain colour might represent part of your messages. So when that colour is in a message or something that you're doing or something you're looking at doing, again, the angels are saying, but remember, this colour is special to you. So, it's a further acknowledgement or an extra, energy that they're saying, well, this is one of the things you choose that by. So the colour is important as well.
Right.
Words are very powerful. So pick your word. Like your word is a bit like your not your mood, but your what's the word for it? There's a word that I use. Okay, it's gone out of my head, the word I use, but it's like it's your own special, unique message. So create that word and use it to the best of your ability. And it's amazing once you've identified a word, you'll see it around everywhere. You'll suddenly say, oh, there's that word again. Oh, my God, there it is again. So I've gone through the whole gamut of words. Like I've had blessed, I've had magical, I've had wonderful, there was amazing. I had a fantastic year, so the word fantastic would appear quite often. So So they all mean something, and they're all blessed was another one I had. Last year I was blessed. So to feel blessed and to be blessed created a whole new vibrational energy for me.
Right. And so those words might still be around you as well?
Oh, absolutely. To me, they're morphing. So blessed is morphing into magical. You know, fairies at the bottom of the garden. How awesome. That was another word I had.
Absolutely.
I had an awesome year as well. And I put that word on my vision board. So it creates part of the whole energy of my vision board. So whatever my word is for the year, and I'll call it my power word.
Right.
So
fabulous. Now today we were going to start with the very basics, and we've both mentioned kinesiology.
Yep.
There might be listeners out there, Marnie, who go, oh my goodness, because I know friends of mine go, kinesiology, what is it?
Yeah, what on earth is that? Yes.
Yes.
And see, that's another thing. You'll hear something new, and it's a new word for you, and you'll go, oh, okay, I'm not sure what that is. So you'll park it, but then you'll hear it again, and you go, oh, I've heard that before. By the time you've heard it 3 times, you're more in tune to it. You are attuned to the word, so it doesn't rate against you. It's more, it picks up your intuitive wisdom. You go, oh, I wonder what that's all about. What do I need to do about it, or how can it assist me? If it's coming up all the time, maybe I need to look into seeing what it is. Because I know the first time I heard the word kinesiology, I didn't have a clue. And we're talking 12 years ago. So 12 years ago, you didn't Google anything because not everyone had a home computer. It was more in the workspace. So when we were first given a card that had the word kinesiology on it, I went, yeah, no, I don't think so. It looks pretty weird. And I put the card away. And it wasn't until it was about my husband's back, actually. He'd had a bulging disc in his back, and we'd been given this card from a friend of ours at the time who, well, I thought was quite normal. So, you know, she was conventional, and her kids played high-level sport. And she said, you know, before you have the operation, go and see this guy. And we just looked at the card and went, oh, I don't think so. We didn't know what it was, so we put the card away, and we waited to have our doctor's appointment, and we weren't given an option. We were virtually told, you've got a bulging disc in your spine, the outcome is an operation, when would you like it, and this is how much it cost. And both of us sort of stood back and went, you know what, we don't want it. So I actually went home and said, I wonder what that person was that this friend had mentioned to me. And so we got it out and we thought, oh, I wonder what it is. And we didn't have a clue, like no clue whatsoever. But I rang and made an appointment for my husband and went along with him because it may have been really strange. So I went into the appointment with him, and the practitioner was there, and he was moving a lot. And you know when a kid wants to go to the toilet, they kind of jig. That's what this guy was doing. He's doing this jiggy kind of movement all the time. And I'm sitting over watching, thinking in my head, I didn't say that aloud, but in my head I'm saying, oh, my God, will you just go to the toilet? Because that's what I thought he wanted to do. I thought, well, wait, it doesn't matter. But then you started to watch what he was doing, and he would test. It was a very practical examination for my husband, and he would get him to hold his hand out in front of him, and he would push on his hand, and sometimes my husband could hold his hand in place, and other times his hand couldn't stay put. Bizarre. And then he would use words, and it was that identification of words, and he would talk to my husband, and certain words that he used, my husband's arm couldn't stay up in the air. And you'd go, oh, this is weird. But I also started to put the jigsaw puzzles together, and I realised that when he used or asked my husband about something that was causing my husband to feel stressed, that's when his arm didn't stay in the same position. So he's laying on a massage table, his arm's up in the air, obviously still attached to his body. The practitioner was putting movement against the arm, trying to push it. Now, sometimes he could push the arm down and sometimes he couldn't. And by the end of the consultation, I realised that it was things that was causing my husband to not feel well that caused his arm to fall down. Whereas if it didn't make any difference to my husband, his arm stayed okay. And that to me was the start of it. I thought this is really interesting. So I started to bring, you know, different members of the family along to this practitioner. And then one day I decided that it was too interesting and it was starting to really pique my interest. I thought I should learn it. And I went to a weekend workshop and I have not stopped. So
now you talk to people.
Now I talk to people's arms. And I'll have them ring up and say, oh, Marney, my arm needs to talk to you. And it's so funny. And kids get it. Kids love it because they love the fact you're talking to their arm and not always their mouth. So it sounds bizarre, but it's really about all muscles have what's called integrity. So every muscle of your body actually knows what job it has to do to create a fluid movement. So to pick up a pen, the brain knows which muscles to tell to contract and which ones to expand so that the pen can be picked up. Right? And they're all done through something called neural pathways. Now, I know this is a little bit technical, but a neural pathway is simply a energetic or a practical pathway that a nerve travels through to create movement. It goes up to the brain says, yep, this is what you do, and it comes back in. It happens in a lightning speed. So when any muscle knows its job, if it's under any form of stress, it's harder for that muscle to do the job that it's supposed to do. So it takes more energy from the body to perform everyday movement. And if you think to a person who's had a stroke, that kind of makes a bit more sense. The person has the stroke in the brain, but it affects their ability to make any form of movement in their body. So the pathway to the brain has been affected, and it has to retrain itself or to learn a new pathway to achieve things.
Our bodies are amazing.
They're miraculous.
And
yes,
that's what I love kinesiology from that point of view. I mean, it's incredible the way that, as you say, you talk to arms, but what a kinesiologist can pick up from our bodies. And when we're in tune with our bodies, we can pick up signs from them as well.
Absolutely. So when someone comes along, I'm often asked, what is a kinesiology session? What does it include? Well, someone will come along to me, so say they're a new client for me, I'll sit down and for a good hour I talk to them and I'll ask for their client history. But I'll ask them also practical things like their name and address and birthday and all those kind of things, because when someone is under a lot of stress or not feeling well, to get some of that basic information takes more effort and energy for them to recall it. So for me, it's kind of an indicator that something's going on in their integration as well. And then I'll ask practice. Now, as a kinesiologist, I'm a natural therapist, so I do not treat diagnosed diseases. What I will work with a client is what is limiting their life. What would they like to do if so with my husband, I wouldn't treat his bulging disc. I would say, if you didn't have a bulging disc, what would you be able to do? And he might say, well, look, I could play golf, on weekends or play golf. So the fact he couldn't play golf was causing his body a stress. So we might use the golfing as the goal. So I play golf easily and happily. But the body says, but I can't because my discs aren't playing fair. So it shows me what to work on or what areas of the body is under duress. So it's goal-orientated. So first of all, they come in and they're seated in front of me. So we take a client history. Then we'll actually say, okay, well, given all the stuff that's going on in your life, there'll be a domino that if we work on that domino, it will create change. And as it creates change in all aspects of your life. So they then lay on the massage table, and that's when I start talking to their arm. So I just get a muscle that works with integrity, so that just means it'll give me an accurate response when I ask a question. Now, obviously, if you're talking to an arm, you can't make it too complicated. So you generally get a yes, no, or a maybe response. And it's a bit like riding a clutch in a car. You very quickly get to judge how a muscle is responding. You can kind of feel it. It's just sometimes it's a light movement, sometimes it's a strong movement, sometimes it's just a blah. It's you go by intuition as well. And I mean, it's remarkable how the body knows what it needs to do to feel better, and it can guide you. And I think that's the bit that keeps me in constant awe and amazement, is that someone who doesn't know me and I don't know them can find their way to the clinic through various means. And in my clinic are things that help them to cope better on their health journey. And sometimes it's a practical tool, sometimes it's a metaphysical tool, sometimes it's just an awareness for the person. You know, an awareness that that change has to occur, or the awareness that if I do something different, I'll get a different outcome. But it all comes back to what I call a stress trigger. So all ill health and ill harmony comes back to stress. And it's the one factor that's common in all ill health without exception, is that the body is under stress in some way, shape or form, and that stress can be coming from mental stress, it can be coming from physical stress, it can come from chemical stress, or it can come from spiritual stress as well. But there's a stress trigger in there that when identified, you can actually create a different outcome.
Beautiful, fascinating, fantastic, incredible.
Magical.
Absolutely.
That's my word.
There it is. Yeah, I agree. Now, Marney,
Yes.
I know you always love people to call in, so I'm going to invite our listeners to call in. If you're in America, it's really easy. The area code is 714-583-6858. And if you're anywhere else in the world, all you need to do is to put a +1 in front of that, especially if you're using a cell phone. So once again, the area code is 714-583-6858. Maybe you have a question that you would like answered about kinesiology, or maybe how to deal with maybe a little bit more stress in your life. As in, I know, Marney, we all need stress. It's how much we have and how we deal with it, which is one of your constant messages, which I appreciate when you mention the stress bucket.
Yep. Stress creates change, but if you have too much and too continual stress, it puts a lot of pressure on your body's immune system. So you go through stages of stress. And people, you might see people in, if you see film clips from people in war zones and things like that, if you look at their eyes, you can generally see the whites of their eyes all the way around their eyes. When someone is showing the whites of their eyes fully, they're under extreme stress and they're very close to an absolute breakdown, because it's that shock that they live in. So when you see someone who's exhibiting that total round white eyes, it's that it looks as though they're startled, but sometimes they look like that all the time. They are so close to adrenal exhaustion, it's not funny.
I dare say that would be something that you are aware of and you could pick up with your clients.
But you see it in people too, like you might see them on TV being interviewed, or different things are happening. When that stress is like that, you really need to know that person needs to find calm in their life, or learn somehow, or get help somehow, shape or form.
Marney, Simon in the chat room, and Simon is a
He's
regular
lovely,
in our chat room. He's gorgeous. Thank you, Simon. And of course, for other listeners who might be unaware of Simon, he lives in the UK. So at the moment, it's seriously late. Not quite as late at the moment, I'm hoping. I always get again, Marney, this is the timing, and I'm at the moment confused. Simon no doubt will tell me in a minute what time it is. Simon's mentioning that he's using magnesium and vitamin B12 at the moment for help with his joints and immune system. Before I just get back to that, Marney, thank you, Simon. Yes, 1:24 a.m. for Simon.
So, me, Simon. When do you sleep, Simon?
Yes, he needs a gold star. Interesting that Simon mentions magnesium, Marney, because my sister-in-law, magnesium is something that we can all lack, especially as we get older. Is that right?
Yep, very much so. It's also a muscle relaxant, so it helps the muscles to relax. So a lot of people enjoy a hot bath when they're feeling stressed, and if you put a bit of Epsom salts in the bath, that helps the body to relax as well, and that's pure magnesium. So ingesting too much magnesium can have a very serious consequence on the muscle integrity of the bowels. So that's not always a good thing either. So.
Right.
But Epsom salts is a muscle relaxant, and the magnesium is taken in by the body. And with the vitamin Bs, something about vitamin B in particular is the body cannot store vitamin B. So it has no supplies of vitamin B stored in the body. Okay, now it's also one of the components, or one of the main components, in the chemical interplay that happens within the body when stress is happening. So the body needs vitamin B as one of its chemical components that causes a chain reaction. Okay, and if you can't store it, well, where do you get it from? So a lot of people that have a vitamin B12 or B6 lack in the body often get cracked lips. So the corners of the lips can be cracked, you know, just where the joint of the mouth is. So when you have cracked lips there on the sides of your mouth, vitamin B6 and B12 is often recognised as being helpful. So, so vitamin Bs, as I said, they're part of the intrinsic chemical interplay that you need, especially when you're under a lot of stress. So you might hum along happily without it, but if you're experiencing extra stress in your life, that's when you throw the vitamin Bs back into the system.
Right. Because I can remember I was having awful trouble when I first started high school. I was right out of my comfort zone, and I was put on B6. So
they're all
calming.
I think there's 12 or 14 Bs. I'm sorry, I can't think the exact number, but there's a large number of them, and they've all got different names. So they've all got different aspects of what they do within the body, and they have synergistic, so other vitamins and minerals that they work alongside, but then they would have antagonist minerals as well. So there's always got to be harmony with anything that you're doing for the body. So remember, at all times, the body is trying to achieve something called homeostasis. And homeostasis is a state of being where you feel in balance and in harmony. And your body's constantly trying to achieve that in every day. And it's how you can adapt. So the body that's, say someone has lost an arm or a leg or something like that, the body does whatever it can to adapt its balance so that the balance is more easily manageable without what it's used to having. So it goes into what, as I said, that word called homeostasis, which is a state of balance and being. Even though I might be experiencing something that's unusual, I'll come back to trying to get stabilisation somehow. That's my dog.
I can hear, yes, he's agreeing with what you're saying. I love it. I love
to go outside. So yeah.
Simon, I'm delighting in what he's sharing in the chat room. I've often heard of this sleep thing. He's got in inverted commas. Never been quite sure how it works. How gorgeous. Which brings me to Marney to the point of insomnia, because again, can be something that is more prevalent as we age.
Yeah, you have different patterns of sleep, and you can be woken up. Something to remember too, like anything can become a stress trigger. All right, so I'm very gifted. I must admit, I feel very gifted, and I'm very blessed to be able to sleep. So I'm someone, I can have a lot of things going on, but I have the ability to, when I go to bed, I put my head on the pillow and 9 times out of 10, I will fall asleep very quickly. I also have the ability, if I have to get up through the night, either to when they had babies or if there's, things happening or the dog needs to go outside or something, I can get up. I can let the dog out. I can do what I have to do, and I can go back to bed and sleep again. Now, I realise that's a gift, and a lot of people don't have it. But I do a lot of health talks to various groups, and some of the groups I speak to are the aged in nursing homes and things like that. And I can remember at one of my very early talks, one gentleman was quite cranky, and he said, well, I don't know how I can be happy, because I'm speaking to people about being happy, when I wake up all night. I woke up 5 times last night to go to the toilet. And I turned to him and I said, oh, my God, how lucky are you? And honestly, he glared back at me as if to say, you stupid woman, didn't you hear what I said? And I said, you got to have, he said he woke up 6 times. And I said, but you got 7 sleeps. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, if you woke up 6 times, you got back to sleep again. So you got 7 sleeps. And he said, oh, that's ridiculous. But he gave a little laugh. And that's the thing. The more he stressed about the fact he woke up so many times, the more it added to that stress build-up. If he was able to deflate that reaction just a little bit by laughing at it, it didn't cause quite the same response mechanism. Now, it didn't mean that he got less or more sleeps again the next night, but it stopped him focusing on the negative aspect and trying to flip it over a little bit to be a little bit more positive. And it just helps you not to be as annoyed. So you can be happier when you're not as annoyed at things.
Definitely. And it's perception, isn't it? How we choose to look at it. I'm sure I have said on air in previous occasions that soon after my husband passed, I was having trouble staying asleep during the night. And I'd wake up and I'd look at the clock and it was like, oh, it's only. And I was able to flip that thought. And instead of going, oh, it's only 1 a.m. or whatever it might be, I'd look and go, oh, great, I've got 6 hours of sleep left or something like that.
So you're really putting a positive inflection.
Yes.
Makes
And
a big
on
difference.
does. It's huge. And the same, if I do find on the occasion that I'm lying awake at night, and invariably it's because I've given myself too much chocolate later in the evening or something like that, and here I am, I've had an hour's sleep and I'm sparky, I realise, Marnie, that I have a choice. I can lie in bed and simply lie in bed and relax, or if I'm really wide awake, I might like to read, or I can get up and do something. That I'm very fortunate because I live alone. I could bake in the middle of the night if I wanted to. So, as you said, simply to change the perspective of how we're looking at a situation really helps it.
Yeah, because your body responds to a negative or a positive experience. So it's much better off responding and acknowledging a positive experience than always flicking back to the negative. Because if we flick back all the time to the negative, we just get the same outcome. So what we need is a different outcome. And the only way you get a different outcome is to change some part of the ingredients to create change. And it's not, your body also knows when you're not telling the truth. So when you are talking about different things using language, so a lot of things we use in kinesiology is called language intention. So how can we word something that sounds better, still means the same thing, but the body responds in a better way to it. So that's the way we talk about if someone's saying, I don't feel so well, or I had a horrible night's sleep, and I woke up 5 times. By just being able to say, I didn't have the best night's sleep, however, I had 7 sleeps. I got to sleep 7 times, changes the energy of the statement that you're making. The body says, yeah, well, I understand that. I still, had lots of wake-up time, but it's in a more positive way.
Yes, and of course, at the moment we're talking about sleeping time. It doesn't matter what particular aspect of our life we're talking about, if we can be in a positive frame of mind or be able to put it in a positive way, then we're far better off. Mm.
And the beauty of the kinesiology tools or techniques, so kinesiology is a modality, okay, and your practitioner is the person who enables that modality to talk to your body and to find out what's going on that might be causing you some grief or some stress triggers. So it's the identification of the emotion that kinesiology comes into its own. Because with the muscle testing that we do, we can say to the body, well, this is what's going on. What is the prime emotion that's causing this response? And we do that by using Chinese philosophy, where you work with the Meridian system. Now, these words might sound strange to people that haven't heard them. So kinesiology is a modality that has its basis in Chinese philosophy. And Chinese philosophy use several concepts. And one of the concepts they use to enormous potential is the Meridian system. And meridians are channels of energy that flow through and around your body in particular ways, and they work in alignment or in harmony with a body system or a body organ. So you would have, one system works. So central meridian works with the energy of the brain. So central meridian's prime job is to ensure that the brain is working to the best of its ability. Governing meridian works with the spine. Now, my Marneyism, so I do a Marneyism kinesiology, and I explain to my clients that the central and governing meridian are the parents. So they're like the bosses of the whole shebang. So if your parents are in harmony, if they're talking to each other, it's easier for the rest of the body to also flow in harmony. So, and then you have 12 then other meridians, and they work like an army time clock. So they work across a 24-hour time cycle, and for each 2-hour time cycle, a particular meridian is in charge. So it just means that the emotions that might be connected to that particular meridian are the ones that are the strongest at that time. All right, so you might have, like the heart meridian, for example, its peak time is 11 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So at that time, the heart meridian is kind of considered the orchestra man conductor. He's the conductor, and the rest of them have to look after it. However, at its opposite, 12 o'clock, so we're talking 11 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning, the heart meridian it's plugged into power. So it's recharging so that it's ready again for the next day. So if someone was having a heart attack, a better time to have a heart attack is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the daytime, where the heart meridian is in its highest potential. Whereas in the middle of the night, it's already at low energy. So you need to make sure other meridians are around to help out at that time. All right, and that army clock, that 24-hour time clock, are very regimented and they flow beautifully. But when you've got disharmony in one aspect, you'll have it in the whole family. So if you've got one element that's feeling overwhelmed or under-energized, it will naturally affect all the others because they've got to pitch in and help it to feel better or to do its job. Now, clients that are presenting with like fibromyalgia or any of those autoimmune diseases or sickness or illnesses, I better say, fibromyalgia style sicknesses where the whole body feels like it's under attack, you often find that all of their meridians are very low in energy, that none of them are working to their highest potential. They're doing the best they can, but there's no energy left in it. And I often use the expression of a mobile phone battery. If you think of a meridian as having a battery life, and when the battery is new and it's charged well, it works really, really well. When it's starting to get old or the contacts aren't working as well, even when you charge it, it doesn't retain the charge. And a stress trigger takes a lot more energy out of the charge that's in there. So if you're feeling overwhelmed in all aspects of your life energy needs to recharge somehow. It needs to buy a new battery so that when it gets recharged, it holds that charge, and that then helps the other meridians to find their charge as well. Is that making sense to the layperson?
Yes, you make you make things sound so easy, because I have heard of the 24 hours according to the different parts of the body. And I often wonder whether, say, when I wake up repeatedly at a certain time of the night, does that suggest that that particular organ needs attention?
It's either that or there's an emotion within that organ. So what time of the night do you wake up? Just as an example.
Quite often it's around 3 o'clock.
So 3 o'clock in the morning. So 3 o'clock in the morning is liver energy. Okay, it's
right.
At the end of the liver energy and going into lungs. Now, liver is all about the toxic emotions. So it's the storage vessel. It's the wooden element of Chinese philosophy, and the wooden element helps us to stay grounded. But it also has within it all the heavier emotions like love, hate, rage, wrath, distressed, vengeful, all those kind of things. So if at that time your body is feeling an emotion about that, it's just stirring and it's waking you on. But it's also part of lungs. And lung is about feeling overwhelmed or not feeling as though I've got enough breath. So your lungs might be needing to wake up so that it takes a good breath, because you might be shallow breathing in your sleep.
Right.
Okay, so waking you up at that time is saying, okay, we need you to breathe. Can you please wake up? And lungs is about, a contempt or feeling smothered. So I'm not taking in good breaths. So if you wake up, you could say to your lungs, settle pedal. I'm working on this. So I'll just take a nice deep breath, and then I'll go back to sleep again because I'm okay. So the other thing, we talked earlier about this word called homeostasis. Emotionally, the body is at all times also trying to stay safe, because it's when it's not safe that it goes into a stress response or an automatic response of flight, fight. So I'm encouraging my clients, if they're doing anything at all, to constantly say to their body, I'm safe. Instead of trying to think of a complicated affirmation, if you use the I am safe affirmation, the body can go, oh, okay, I can relax and I can deal with what's going on.
Oh, very, very good, Marney. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Now, Marney, I would like to give you the opportunity of telling listeners about, A, how they can get in contact with you, and what might be coming up for you that you can share with them.
Love to. So if anyone needs to talk to me or would like to book an appointment, or even just, I offer now a 15-minute complimentary consultation via Skype. So people just have to email me. There's a button on my website, which is www.kinique.com. And when they land on my website now, there's a little button on there that says 15-minute consultation. So if someone wants to talk to me or to see whether kinesiology could help them, you can hit that button. It sends me a message, and then we can work out a time that will suit. Now, I do that by phone or by Skype. Now, it's not a kinesiology consultation. It's a chat. Let's have a discovery session. You can ask me basic questions, and I can say, well, yes, kinesiology or what I practice might be able to assist you. Apart from that, I work from a clinic at home, and people can, again, you can email me for a consultation time, or talk to me on Facebook. I love my Facebook, so I've got Connect Kinesiology, and I've also got a private page as well. So I'm starting to now, as I said, I'm not turning my clinic into an online, but I'm starting to embrace the online aspect of self-help and healing. And I now offer a 5-week de-stress program, which again is on my website. And you can just, it's on the front page, and you can just register. So it's on special at the moment for $47, which is, I think it's American because it's an American program that I've hosting it with. But it's on there for 2 weeks at $47. It will then go up to $97 for the next 2 weeks, and then after that it will be $147. And it's a 5-week program, so there's 29 little videos in there, and I teach you 5 kinesiology techniques, I talk about my 10 points to de-stress. I've done some angel readings, talked about gemstones, and then there's a couple of bonuses as well. So I think it's a bit of a bonus buy. So feel free.
Absolutely. An Easter special.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh,
and then, of
well
course,
done.
I've got my books as well and my products. So, my book is available all over the world. So there's an ebook now that's available in all countries, and I have an audio book which you can find on Audible. And it's all based on creating calm amid chaos. So those words will find my book.
Mhm. Yes, it's such a practical guide, Marney.
Thank you. It's
So
really
you're
great.
certainly...
I've got it for sale now at a couple of hospitals as well, which is just an absolutely awesome concept for me because, people in hospital are generally stressed. So it's really nice that they can go down to the local news agency at the Royal Brisbane Hospital and actually pick my book up. It's been lovely.
Great. Yes, I just delight because in the time that I have known you, you have certainly gained wings, and what you offer now and how you offer it, it's like, oh, wow, talk about use the tools that are around you. And I think that's absolutely fabulous that you can see the opportunities for you through the advancing technological ways of this world.
Absolutely. My only challenge, Annette, and it's a challenge that many people have and others don't, is that my geekiness comes with limitations. So, sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, and you go, oh, really? But, perseverance is the key. And, sometimes it flows beautifully, and other times I'm a little bit more challenged than others. But when you think back, and as I said, I'm only thinking 12 years ago now, I didn't even know what an ebook was because I'd gone to this online, it was a weekend workshop, and it was an internet marketing workshop. And at that stage, what I was attempting to do was I had written an intuitive poem, and I wanted to release that poem to the universe. And I knew in my head that if that poem was only $1, I only had to sell 1 million copies of that poem, and I had $1 million. And that helped with a financial challenge that was happening in our family. And I also knew that with the internet, I had believed that to do that, I needed a 1 in 5 chance. So I needed 5 million people around the world to know about the poem, and for 1 in 5 of those people to buy the poem. The thing I didn't know was how to do that, and I still haven't quite managed that. And in what format could that poem be? Because if I sold the poem for $1 and it cost me $1.20 to post it, I wasn't actually achieving what I was attempting to achieve.
Right.
So, but it created a start of a journey. And I often say to people, I was like on an escalator, and I just stepped onto it. And you know how some escalators go zoom and go really fast? Mine goes fast and then it stops. And then you have to start walking again because it's run out of steam. And then you get on it again. And sometimes it's a travelator and it's nice and gentle. And other times you think, strike me, pink. But the thing is to keep having a go, because eventually things fall into place. And this year, as you know, is my geekiness year. So maybe next year I'll have to use geekiness as my word. But this year I'm going to own geeky, and just by being able to put my online program together and actually have it on a website that people can purchase, for me is just amazing.
Absolutely. Yes. And see, isn't it interesting when you look at technology, and these days most people in no matter what business they're in have a website.
Yeah. Well,
And
if you
so
don't,
much
people wonder why, because you might be a bit dodgy. So.
Yes. Well, I mean, even the businesses that are physical, we can go into a store, but we can also buy online. We have these wonderful choices.
Yeah. And being able to do healing online is a choice as well. Physically, when a client's in the clinic with you, they also notice change because they can, like when I'm doing muscle testing, they're engaged in the muscle testing. When you're doing it from behind a screen, the client still feels the energy work being happening, but it's not quite as personal, I don't believe. But in saying that, it also allows you to tap into the vibrational energy field of that person as well, and it can be just as effective being done, over Skype and the internet. Maybe not always a structural thing, but when we're doing work structurally, there's a point where the muscle doesn't feel as good, and there's a point where the muscle feels better. So long as those points are still activated or held, it should still create change within that muscle, whether it's in person or energetically. So you need to get your head. It's kind of like the energy healing. So it's done vibrationally. It can be done, not from the same location, but it just depends on how you feel you want to work with your practitioner.
Very good point, Marney, it's about us, each one of us, feeling comfortable. And that's why aren't we so fortunate? There are so many people out there. We can choose our modality. We can choose our facilitator because, as you're well aware, yes, you're a very wonderful kinesiologist who has the ability of helping people throughout the world because of technology. However, there are lots of kinesiologists out there and there are lots of modalities. So it's really up to us to be aware and to know what suits our own body.
Yeah. And you're not going to know until you've had a go. So if you're unsure about kinesiology, find a kinesiologist that you feel comfortable with their energy, either their word. People will say to me, I Googled kinesiology, but I came across your website and I like the colours. Or I might have liked some of the words I used. It made them feel comfortable to contact me. Okay, so you will find that there'll be someone, and if you go to a practitioner and you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to stay. You have a choice to say, you know what, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but I think I need to go. And just go. I mean, pay your fee if you've already started the consultation. But be safe in yourself. So trust that intuition as well. So a kinesiologist does not generally ask you to undress or anything like that. So if you go one and they say, take your clothes off, run. There's no need to undress. I mean, you wear comfortable clothes, but you certainly don't need to disrobe to see a kinesiologist. All right, so they, feel safe in what you're doing. A kinesiologist will, especially a registered kinesiologist, will not see children without the parent or the guardian on hand, and that's just safe for the child, parent, and the practitioner as well, because you have to have best practice policies in place as a practitioner as well, because you don't want to put yourself in a compromising situation either. All right, but we work with children with the parents there, so that the parents are fully aware of what's going on. So, find your practitioner. If it hasn't helped or you don't feel well or you feel unusual, ring them back. A practitioner, usually would like to hear back from someone who's felt a bit different. Like I put a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago and I had one of my clients contact me to say, would you mind if I shared this on your site? And when I read it, I said, well, not at all. And it was more the fact that she was a bit of an empath, so she felt things quite strongly. And at first, kinesiology didn't invade her space, but it made her feel quite, open. So she felt that she had to look after herself as well when she was having kinesiology. So if you are someone that's very affected by other people's energies, make sure you shield yourself. And that goes for the client as well as the practitioner. So you're helping people, you're not just detracting from yourself. So make sure you're safe first. And the client definitely has to feel safe. And if you're feeling at all on edge or anxious about anything, talk to the practitioner. Or just say, look, thanks for this. It's not what I'm after. And move on. because it's not going to be for everybody. And that's okay as well. But it could have been the next step that you needed.
We are so fortunate that we live in this planet of choice, and we have choice in all that we do. We're talking today, Marney, about looking at something positively or negatively, how we can flip the switch. And I'm a great believer, we were also talking about signs, and I'm a great believer that things people are brought to me, activities are brought to me. It's amazing just what we can be led to by just, especially if we have our eyes open. So, listeners, please be aware of what's around you and make the most of every day. And if you're looking for something in particular, make sure that you let the universe, let the angels know, and you never know what comes up. I'm always overawed, Marney, with just how fortunate I am and what is presented in my life.
Yeah, and it's validation. A lot of times those messages that we've been talking about, like I recently had a client who the angel cards, when I used the angel cards as part of her healing, the emerald green angel card came up. Now, the totem animal for the emerald green card was a kookaburra. And the kookaburra is all about self-healing. So if you're not feeling the best, or you're on a health journey or that's being a bit challenging at the moment, and you come across a kookaburra out of place. Now, if you have a family of kookaburras and you see it, they're just saying hi and they're part of your energy field. But if you see a kookaburra in a weird place, it's kind of letting you know that things are okay. So I said to her, look, you're going to see a kookaburra in an unusual place, and just know that that's helping you to trust you're on the right journey. Well, she sent me this amazing text, and she said, did it matter how big the kookaburra was? And I went, well, no. And she'd gone down with the daughter to a little country town, and in the middle of the park that she was walking around was this massive metal statue of a kookaburra. It's huge, apparently. And she just stopped in her tracks and went, oh, my goodness. And it was about doors of opportunity opening up. And she went, oh, for goodness sakes. And she rang me, and she was so excited. And then this huge opening ended up for her, and she's been able to say yes to this massive growth for her business. And such her heart speak, like it's something that she's passionate about. It's about teaching her profession, and she was so excited. And she said now she rings me every couple of days and says, oh my God, there's another 3 of them yelling at me at the front door. But she just said that, for the most unusual thing to turn up was this massive metal statue of a kookaburra.
Right.
So, it's the angel guidance, it's the angel messages, it's the confirmation and validation that the pathway that you're on is the pathway you're meant to be on.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, listeners, I hope you've had a wonderful time listening to Marney and myself. If you want to be in touch with Marney, please visit Kinesiologist.com. Here's me messing that up, Marney. Sorry. And we look forward to having Marney next month. I look forward to being with you next week when Darren Snell is going to be with me. And Darren has a wonderful connection to the archangels and angels. Feel free to ring in with your questions. In the meantime, look for the signs and make sure that you make the most of every moment and every opportunity. Bye for now.
You've been listening to another fabulous program. You've been listening to another fabulous program on Angel Heart Radio. Our goal is to remind you of how much you matter in the world, and to let you know that we appreciate who you are in the world. You can check out who's on, when we're on, and who our guests are at angelheartradio.com. Everything is there. It's all just one click away. Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools to help you in your life and your life experience. They are not intended, nor should they, be used to replace your medical or legal advice.